Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Hawk Blogger Mornings. I'm Brian Nemhauser, and you can find me pretty much everywhere: YouTube, TikTok, Instagram at Hawk Blogger. Really fun night last night for Seattle sports fans as the Mariners go up 2-0 over the Blue Jays. The entire Seattle sports scene is kind of electric right now, and there's nobody I'd rather be talking to than Ring of Honor member, top 50 Seahawk of all time, Seahawks legend Matt Hasselbeck. Matt, how you doing this morning?
I'm great. Good morning to you. I mean, you're everywhere, man. You're up late watching games. You're up early doing this. I mean, it's you're on tonight late. I mean, you might be the hardest working man I know right now. So
congrats. That is kind of you. That is kind of you. It doesn't feel that way when things are going well, the way that they're going right now. And we're going to talk sports, but I have an important question I've been dying to ask you for a while. It's a really important personality test, and you travel a lot, you fly a lot. I need to know, Matt, are you team recline or team never recline?
Never recline.
Yes. Recline. I knew I liked
with one exception. With one exception, a red eye flight. I think we all recline. Like, of course, the whole plane needs to recline together.
Yes,
that's the one exception. But no, I'm a team no recline. My dad was 6'8", so I think I got used to just sitting up tall, like not quite Navy SEAL perfect posture, but decent. And so yeah, that's me.
All my tall friends are pretty much team never recline, and I think it's because they realize how much it screws you if somebody reclines at that height.
I do think airplanes, though, they're changing how they're built a little bit. They almost are like already some, not all, certainly not all, but some are like, I feel like they're a little bit like pre-reclined. Like I'm working on a laptop and I'm like, can I sit up straight, please? Like, you guys got me, but yeah.
It's true. And hey, congrats, Ensworth, with another win this past week. How are things going on your coaching front?
Sloppy win. It didn't feel good. No, it didn't.
It was a close one.
It was a little too close. I think as a coach, you understand. I think now as a coach, I understand what our coaches went through. When you work so hard on a game plan, you have it in your mind, and then the players just kind of like lay an egg. And then I think at the same time, like you feel sometimes as a coach, like, man, that was a terrible call, and that kid just bailed us out, And so like I think at least for me now, when I see a Mike Macdonald press conference and I see him like in the post game, like, hey, you guys picked me up today. Last week I laid it. Like, I get it. It's just like, you feel like you're one with them. You feel like we're together in this thing. So you got to remember both sides of it though, because it does go both ways in the course of a season.
We have talked a little bit of Mariners stuff with you. And one question I just had, given what's going on, you got traded to Seattle the same year that the last time that the Mariners got to the ALCS, the year that they won 116 games. The Seahawks weren't the talk of the town at that point. The Mariners were. What was that dynamic like? Do you remember that when you first got here?
Yeah, it was cool. I mean, it was competitive also, but it was super cool. I mean, I remember one of my first interviews as on the national scene of being the Seahawks quarterback. And the interview started out, they wanted to ask me about Ichiro. And like, I was like, oh yeah, I met him. Like, but I knew nothing about him as a player. I'm like, he didn't, we didn't communicate that well together right away, so I really didn't have much to say, but it was excitement. I think they won 100 games that year. I remember one game where I think we were playing and I think we were at Husky Stadium, and all of a sudden there's like randomly in the middle of the game, like we're in the huddle or whatever, like the stadium erupts in cheer, and we're like, wonder what happened, but I think everyone was listening to the radio, listening to the Mariners game, and like Brett Boone knocked somebody in. It was just like one of those like cool. So like we were rooting for them, but at the same time, I think it was a little bit hard to get interest in our team. We weren't selling out. Our games were blacked out. We were playing in Husky Stadium. We weren't playing well. There was a lot of turnover. I don't think anybody really knew the names on our team. And on the flip side, the Mariners, you knew the names on the team. And also they had said goodbye. They'd recently said goodbye to some huge names, Randy Johnson and Ken Griffey Jr. and some of those guys. So it was certainly an exciting time. And I know for me as a Seahawks player and the other Seahawks players, we were excited for the Mariners. Like, we were super fired up. we also just were like, oh, could you just be excited when we play too? Because we're trying to get this thing off the ground also. And that, it wasn't easy early on for us.
Well, yeah, I think it's hard. Some people that watch this show are young enough that they don't honestly remember that time. And people don't really recall before the Seahawks had been to a Super Bowl, before the Seahawks had won a Super Bowl, before the Seahawks were kind of the dominant part of the town. And when the Mariners, the last 25 years, have generally been not good, and not as popular. So
there was a lot of craziness at the time. Like, the Sonics were a thing. Like, it was Ray Allen, Kevin Durant, KD was new, but there was a little bit of talk about, like, are the Sonics going to stay? Like, the Storm, I can't remember, but I think the Storm was coming on, or maybe I don't remember. Sometimes I get it mixed up. But UW was good at football. That was a thing. So, like, the big games weren't the Seahawk games at the time. Like, the Mariner games were definitely the big games. And so, you're trying to find your way. And I think as an organization, like, you're trying to, like, have this, like, civic pride together. But at the same time, you're trying to sell sponsorships and suites and stuff. And you're competing for the same customer in a sense. But now look, Seattle's such a sports town with all these different sports teams and leagues and everything. And I feel like there's room for everybody, and cheering each other on is a really, really cool thing. So, yeah, it's great to see.
Yeah, there's kind of this thing of, maybe the Seattle's a baseball town, Seattle's a football town. I'm like, it's all nonsense. Like, Seattle loves sports. Like, it's not any one of those towns. It's all of those things. And you were in Boston when, like, Boston went through this time of winning everything. Like, the football team was winning Super Bowls, the basketball team was winning NBA trophies, the Red Sox won a series. I think the Bruins probably won.
Yep.
Were you in town during, like, all that height?
Yeah, so we came back into it, and listen, I'm in Boston right now. This is a Red Sox town without a doubt, and yet the Patriots have won 6, Super Bowls recently. My kids, I think, like, their friends, I think there's a sign. There's, like, a famous sign of a kid here. He's like, I'm like, whatever. I'm 6 years old. This is my 9th world championship parade, something like that. And, like, for the people who grew up, like, rooting for these exact same teams, it was different. But no, like, it got to a point where my kids, they wouldn't even cancel school for a Super Bowl parade or some kind of world championship parade. Like, they wouldn't even get, like, a half day. It was just like, oh, yeah, it's a parade. I mean, my daughter, when we first moved back, like, her and her friend, I was like, no, the heck with that. We are skipping school. Anytime anybody in our city wins a world championship, I don't care. We are skipping school. So Annabelle, she's up there, and, like, she's front row because, like, there aren't a lot of kids there. Kids were in school, most of them. And Julian Edelman throws her a T-shirt. Thank goodness it was a T-shirt, not a beer, like, so. And so, like, she came back, and I'm like, oh, how was the parade or whatever? And she's like, oh, it was really cool. Number 11, Julian Edelman, he like threw me a T-shirt. I was like, oh, okay. Just so you know, this is not normal. Like, this is like a once in a lifetime kind of thing that happens in your city. Don't be spoiled about it, but yeah, it's hopefully kids in Seattle get to experience a little bit more of this.
Yeah, it's certainly looking promising for the Mariners. Any true Mariners fan will not feel good. Mariners are up 10-3 in that game, and there is not a single Mariner fan that felt comfortable until the final out. Like, not a single Mariners fan. They're up 2-0 in this series. Odds are in their favor. They should win. I've looked ahead. The Seahawks have a bye week when the entire World Series happens, which is just amazing. Great timing.
Well, can I just tell you, like, when we eventually I think it was 2005, we took over, we started beating the Rams when they were the greatest show on turf. The first time that we did that, the first time we won down there, the night before the St. Louis Cardinals were playing, like, they're right there, like, right across the street. And you felt as a visiting player, you almost felt the fatigue of that city, of that fan base, because they were up late the night before cheering for what I would say they were a baseball town.
They are a baseball town.
And so it's so you got to find a way to bring the energy both if you can for both teams. And, like, I thought, like, at the Tampa game, when Baker Mayfield came and they played great, most of those Seahawk fans just went, like, right across the street. A lot of them did, maybe even early to go over there for that game. Like, they brought the energy for both. So that was, hopefully they keep that going as well.
Yeah, it's certainly been notable, and I'm glad you brought up the time frame when you guys were kind of coming up, and uh, I'm gonna just acknowledge, and I don't want to bias you, so I'm gonna not acknowledge, but let me just ask you this: the Mariners are now at a point where it's like, okay, this looks like a team that has a real chance to win a World Series. The Seahawks have gone through times where they were not at all a contender, and that has been basically the last 15 years. You guys were the first ones to kind of go through that transition of we've never done this, and now we're going to do this maybe. And I'm curious, at what point along the way did you guys within the locker room start to look at each other or look in the mirror and be like, we're going to win? Like we're a Super Bowl team. We're going to do this year.
Well, there wasn't the parity that there is in the NFL now, like back then. Like if you could knock off some of the big dogs, if you could compete with some of the, the huge quarterbacks or the huge teams like that were sort of unstoppable, that was a big thing. But the moment for me, we were playing really well. We had just won a big game, and Jim Zorn comes in the quarterback room, and he's got this like smirk on his face, and he's like, we got a chance this year. Like we could be really good. And he never talked about this. Like it was like always like one game at a time, one day at a time, one play at a time. And he's like, our best players are having their best years. He goes, but also like we're getting incredible production out of some of our journeyman players like Craig Terrell. And we're looking around like Craig Terrell. He was a nose guard who was a rookie from Purdue. He was a rookie, but he looked like an older man. And I think our defensive line led the league in sacks at the time or something like that. And we're looking around and I think it was Seneca Wallace, and he was like, Jim, Craig Terrell's a rookie, right? It's just like that's a terrible Seneca Wallace accent, by the way. But it was just hilarious because we did have this sense all of a sudden that a backup receiver for us who didn't play like a backup was Joe Jaravicius, kind of 10 touchdown catches for us, I think, that year. Mm-hmm. Just guys that we weren't necessarily counting on. DJ Hackett was having a great year. I think Jeremy Urban was stepping up. So like it was this idea of like, yeah, your best players are playing their best, but also guys that you weren't necessarily counting on were playing their best as well. And I don't know, that's one I just won't forget. The Craig Terrell shout out from Jim Zorn. Because as offensive coaches, you don't always know the defensive guys as well and vice versa. So that was he knew he was new, and he knew he looked kind of old, and he was crafty. I think he had like an interception that game or something like that. But it was neat to see. So if you can get the unsung hero stuff going, those guys are heroes, and they really were for us that season.
Yeah, I think my recollection on the fan side of that was when things started bouncing your way, and that like the first game that really I remember that regard is the Cowboys game where Jordan Babineau makes the play. You guys get Josh Brown field goal, and you beat the Cowboys 13-10. Back then the Cowboys were pretty good. That was a rough game.
Yeah.
It seems like you also need a little bit of fortune to go your way in those situations and in those years.
Yeah, I would agree. The funny thing is that when you bring up that play, though, because as a quarterback, you're thinking about next, like what's next. So I'm on the bench. They're kicking the field goal. I would have rather they made that field goal. Like that would have been better for me in my mind, because then I'm going to get a Bill Parcells coach team squib kick. We'll get the ball like the 30-ish, 35. We got to go another, like, I don't know, not too far for Josh Brown to make a game winner. Like I'm good. But instead, Tony Romo drops the snap. Jordan Babineau stops him. We get on the 1 yard line. Now we've got a Wade Phillips coach defense with Roy Williams and all these other guys. We got to get the ball out at least far enough for a safe punt, for us to have a good punt and then not give them an opportunity to kick it again. So like, it was like, that was really, and they had us, it was just up to Sean Alexander, who met that, number 31, Roy Williams, their strong safety in the hole, to make him miss that iced the game. But man, that's not a fun place to be as an offense, like especially as a quarterback. You'd much rather like, hey, all right, let's sling it, prevent defense, that kind of thing. But yes, that was a huge bounce, big play. Babs got his name for a reason. That was one of them. Thank goodness he was hustling on that play. That was great.
And then I mean, besides the Mariner game last night, there's a couple Monday Night Football games. I cannot stand these Monday night doubleheaders. I can't believe there's gonna be a 7
Unless you're
o'clock.
on an airplane. If you're on an airplane, like commercial, you go to the other Monday night game. The commercial, you go to the other. That was
that can be beneficial. That's true.
Yeah.
We watched the Buffalo Bills lose. The Commanders lose. And I look around the NFL, like the Bills were kind of this team where I'm like, Josh Allen, they're probably the best team just with him, right? When you look around the NFL, when you look around the NFC, who do you see as like, these are the legitimate contending teams that could win it all?
Well, that's the thing about parity right now is like you don't see one dominant team. Like people were saying, oh, the Bills and the Eagles. Like, no, I don't think so. Definitely not the Bills. Bills can't tackle anybody. Like if the NFL, like I saw someone wrote this and I completely agree. If the NFL outlawed running the ball, the Bills would be the best team in football because they can't stop the run. They don't even like to run on offense. So but no, I mean, that's why I think the Tampa game was so big because I think Tampa's a player. Tampa's one of those teams everyone's going to count out, but they're playing great football with backup players.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about quarterbacks making people better, the people around you better. I think Baker Mayfield has done that. He had no Mike Evans. He's had no Bucky Irving. Emeka Buka goes out. He had 2 touchdown passes to guys. I think it was like Tez Johnson and Cam Johnson, maybe both guys. It was their first touchdown catch ever. He's out there so what, now what? That's the mindset. So what, now what? People were like, hey, they're chanting for you to be MVP. And he's just like, it's week 6, relax. But that's the response. That's the mindset that gets you to, hosting home playoff games. And, people are going nuts in Tampa. Like that could be a serious, serious contender. I think that's a team that's not afraid of Philly. I don't know that they're afraid of anybody. No. And then I would also say that's one thing that's kind of exciting about the Seahawks is like on the road. So what? Like we're good. Like we're not afraid of going on the road. Like there's some of these things that like maybe you call it like the ball bounces your way, or I call it like just like a mental, a physical, non-flinch toughness that like, now, so what, now what? Hey, you got to go all the way to Jacksonville after a tough loss. Like, so what? Like now what? Like, let's go. So I don't know. Like, I think it's too early to say who the dominant teams are. Injuries usually play in, but no, there's a lot to like about teams that the national media doesn't talk too much about. And those would be 2 of them for me.
I loved Tez Johnson saying he thought they might have been chanting MVP for him.
It was, I don't know what the right word is. It was like adorable almost. It's like I feel bad saying that, but it's just like, oh, that's amazing, man. That's like, it's amazing.
Have you ever seen Tez Johnson in person?
No, I haven't.
I mean, he's like 5'7" and like 120 pounds. I mean, the guy's tiny. He's smaller. He's roughly my size, maybe a little smaller.
We used to play the Chargers in the preseason every year when they had LaDainian Tomlinson, and then they bring in their backup running back, this guy named Darren Sproles.
Oh yeah.
And I remember they were a power team. They'd bring these like big pulling guards. And I remember Lofa Tatupu came to the sidelines one time and he was like, who is this backup running back? Can't even find him back there. Darren Sproles. He's like the best running back we've ever seen. Like kind of like jokingly, but sometimes when the guy's little, he's hard to find. And that could be a weapon too.
He could. He is. He's a really, really good player and a good example of where testing and all that stuff gets overthought for football players. So with the Seahawks team, they go into Jacksonville, a 4-1 team. They've now beat a Steelers team I thought was fraudulent and somehow is 4-1, and they kind of beat them pretty badly in Pittsburgh. They beat a Cardinals team that was 2-1 when they went into Arizona, and Arizona needed that game. They've gone to Jacksonville and they beat a 4-1 Jacksonville team. At what point do you feel like this team belongs in the conversation of like, yeah, maybe they are legitimate. Maybe this is a team that could do something special as well this year?
If I'm being honest with you, when I looked at the schedule this year, I thought like, wow, like this is a friendly schedule for them.
Mm-hmm.
There's really nothing I would do differently with the schedule. Like the toughest one was the week 1 against the 49ers. Like to me, that was the most important one. Yeah. Like get that one. And then like, that's going to be a huge one later in the year.
Yep.
Unfortunately, they didn't take care of business, but like, listen, there's something about sometimes sinking low to get high. Like I use this analogy sometimes with when I coach. The best way to get somebody back in a boat that's in a life jacket is not to just like muscle them up. Sometimes you got to like sink down and then come up out of the water. Like, I think that's what that 49er game hopefully could be for them, because I think it was like a rude awakening. Like, that's not who we need to be offensively. That's not the complementary offense to the defense that we need to be. That's not how we're going to play ball. It's not how we're going to win. It's not who we're going to be. So like, I'm hoping that there's something like that in that loss. But no, this sets up nicely. I mean, you got the Monday night game, and instead of a short week, you had a bye. Like, you get a little extra. You get the extra day after the Jacksonville game. Like, I'm a fan. Like, but I don't know that like you need to be in the national conversation. Like, that's just a distraction. Let them like forget about us up in South Alaska. Let Sam Darnold and JSN be like quietly awesome. Like let that be a thing. Let them not know. And we're good. I think we'd be good with that. I think it's actually helpful in a way.
Yeah, and there's a couple things just X's and O's wise, tactics wise, I wanted to get your input on. So there's a few things going on for the Seahawks right now. One of them on offense, one of them on defense. And defensively, let's start there. The Seahawks are playing light box, for folks that don't know, fewer than 7 defenders near the line of scrimmage. As much or more than almost any team in football. They're also, of the teams that are doing that, they're the only one that is holding opposing running backs to like 3.5 yards a carry. They're like the only team that's playing good run defense without many players in the box. They also don't blitz. They're one of the fewer like lowest blitzing teams. Again, leaving extra guys in coverage. What does that do for an offense when a team's able to play with fewer players near the line of scrimmage and still stop the run?
Well, it's great for the defense. I mean, huge for the defense. Like, playing with a light box is kind of the goal for a defense. Like, if you can stop the run with your front 7, you're good. I mean, and then rushing the passer too. Like, so the Seahawks had 7 sacks this week. 6 of them, they rushed 3 or 4. That was it. I think only one of them was a blitz, and that was like a 2nd and 2 run blitz, probably. Yep. I mean, that's huge. And so like it tied, like, well, whose is that? Does that mean that the pass rush is just getting home super fast? Or does that mean that the coverage on the back end is making the quarterback hold on to the ball? Both, literally both. And you saw Trevor Lawrence, who, I don't know, he's a pretty good athlete running the ball. You see him getting like Byron Murphy, like from behind a couple times, or holding on to the ball a couple times, or like, it just works in unison. I got your back, you got my back, and keeps you guessing. Doesn't mean they can't blitz like every once in a while out of the blue moon, like whatever. No, I think it's great. I think it's like the goal of every defense, and you talk about it, but no one's able to just do it. That's why you spend so much money up front. If you spend good money up front, the guys in the back end don't have to be nearly as good to look good.
And on the other side of the ball, I got in a little bit of trouble yesterday, Matt, because I was asking too many questions in the Mike Macdonald press conference. Everyone was covering the Mariners, so I was like, I'm just going to ask as many questions as I want.
Go.
Come on, let's go. And one of the questions I asked Mike Macdonald, there's a crazy, to me, it's a crazy number. The Seahawks are averaging 15 yards per pass attempt on play action. Like, that's nuts. The next closest team's like 10, like 5-yard difference, right? And yet they're not able to run the ball. And if you look a little bit deeper, the Seahawks are getting a lot of actually the opposite of their defense. They're getting a lot of heavy boxes, a lot of 8 people near the line of scrimmage. And so I asked Mike Macdonald, all right, do you think that maybe there's a trade-off in the explosive passing you're getting for the trouble you're having in the run game? Wanted to play for you what he said to answer that question.
To a certain extent, I think that might be a fair evaluation. I also think, what you should be able to run wide zone against loaded boxes. That's part of the reasons why it is the way it is. So that's something that we need to improve on our run game. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry. But you also need to stay committed to it. I told the team today, it's just a function of details. It's a function of reps. It's a function of just getting better at what we're doing. Just like our punt return and kick return game. We're a block away here, a block away there, which it's sounds like an excuse. It's not going to be good enough in the end. We got to get those things right. But in order to make it happen, you got to attack the details. You got to stay steadfast in it. The more reps we're going to get, the better we're going to get at it. And then, it does force teams to put people on the line of scrimmage. And when they do that, it opens up passing lanes. So that's how we've been operating, and we expect our run game to get better. And our pass game right now is operating at a high level, and we want to keep that rolling as best we can as well.
So curious, your reaction.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of encouraging the play caller, Klint Kubiak, hey, stick with it. He's also letting the offense know we're one guy away on a lot of these runs. Like, they're going to stack the box. They know who we want to be. We're going to be up in games. They're going to stack the box. So what? Now what? I don't care. Like, there's runs we can run. We can still do outside zone. We're good. You just need one guy to get his cut block backside, and then there's our lane. One cut, get downhill. However, without seeing that, like what I would have said after like kind of studying the game is that the Seahawks go more than anybody, or more as much as anybody. They go into they break the huddle, and they'll have at least 2 plays called. And so, like, you'll see Sam Darnold, he's got his signals. He's got his, like, hey, let it roll, we're good. And then he's got his other, like, alert. They'll call 2 plays. And so if we have a light box, we're running it. And if we have if we have a single high, we're going to throw it. And we're good. And the play action that the Seahawks use is like real play action. It's not like, I kind of just sort of flash fake. Like, no, everybody's doing it. Literally everybody. And you're in the same formation as the run that you would have been running anyway. And so, yes, you get these great explosives, but it's dictated a little bit by Jacksonville. Jacksonville came in, talked about the lack of respect that, the Seahawks are getting nationally. I think Sam Darnold's still getting that lack of respect. Mm-hmm. I think Jacksonville came into that game and they said, we're going to make Sam Darnold beat us. We're not going to let him run the ball on us. They talking about how they want to run the ball. We're not going to let them do that. We're going to make these guys throw it on us. And they did really well. And they, quite honestly, they went after a couple guys that it was clear to me that the Seahawks said, like, liability, you're a liability, and you're a liability. We're going after you. And so it was a really great game plan, I thought, in the check with me system of always kind of being in the right play. Like, sure, offensively, did they have great rushing numbers? Were we rushing for first downs? Like, no, we were throwing for them, but they were explosive runs, 61-yard throw to the tight end, big, huge touchdown pass to the wide receiver, blitz 0 audible to Cooper Kupp. Like, I thought it was a really well done game plan. And I do like the fact that Mike Macdonald understands that there is a foundational piece to this, that the other team has to respect us in the run game. Because if they don't do that, then none of this other stuff really works.
You talked about JSN and Sam Darnold, and NFL defenses aren't stupid. They know what's going on with JSN. They look at him. They can't help but look at him and say, we got to take him away as best as possible. Nobody's been able to do it so far. How is that happening?
I think formationally, the Seahawks are getting him on the people that they want to get him on. I think that's one thing. I think another thing that they do really, really well is they'll run him from one side of the field all the way over to the other side of the field. I don't really care who you are. You can't cover anybody good doing that. Like, if you have enough time through play action or pass protection to get a guy from one side of the field to the other side of the field, like, it's almost like that's just super hard to defend. And then his speed is a real thing. He doesn't look like he's running in 5th gear all the time. Sometimes he looks like he's in 3rd gear, maybe 4th gear. He's very confident that way. I think he's picked up some tricks of the trade from different receivers that he's been around. I see a little bit of Tyler Lockett in his game sometimes. I'm like, well, that was really crafty what you did. Like, even on the Barner big play, that 61-yarder that I'm talking about, JSN's coming across and he almost shuts it down into 2nd gear. Like, hey, make sure you see me. I'm the decoy here. Make sure we looks like a naked bootleg this way. Whoop, no, it's not. Like, that's a little thing that he's playing like such a veteran crafty guy. Maybe it's Cooper Kupp being in the room. Maybe he's just naturally super smart or well-trained at Ohio State. I don't know. But, like, there's some great stuff about the game that I think isn't just all about him. It can help the people around him be better. So if you want to go ahead and take him away, fine. Like, we are a spread it around offense, we can be good with that.
Last question for you, Matt. Let you go. So the Seahawks play Monday Night Football against the Texans. Derek Stingley Jr., one of the best corners out there. Seems like he will travel with JSN. What's your take on that matchup and that game overall? Anything jump out to you?
Yeah, well, I mean, the other one who worries me, like Nico Collins, like what's our plan with that? But no, I think as an offense and a quarterback, when you know what the defense is going to do, like it's great. No problem. He's going to travel. Great. Like what side do we want him on? How are we going to formation it? When there's a seed of doubt, like, is he going to travel? He might, or sometimes he will, sometimes he won't. He will on third down, not on fourth down. He will on a 3-by-1. Like that's harder. Like that's way, way harder. And so like, I guess like game plan wise, you see like those big call sheets that these quarterback coordinators have. There's definitely, without a doubt, a JSN section. And you saw it. Hey, we're going to go slant over here and then like spacing and all checkdowns over there. We're going to put him by himself. We're going to motion towards him, away from him, and then he's the guy. Well, if you have a shutdown corner, which I'm not sure that anyone has a shutdown corner for JSN, that changes what that box looks like. I believe there will be 2 boxes on that play call sheet, maybe for like, if they travel with JSN, this is our plan to get him touches. Mm-hmm. And then if they don't, but I would think that would be kind of determined in the first 15 plays. In the first 15 plays of this Monday night game coming up, I would not be at all surprised if JSN touches the ball, call it 7 passes. He catches 3. He has 3 targets in the first 15 to just figure out what the plan's going to be.
Love it, Matt. Great stuff as always. Thanks for coming on and have a great rest of your week.
You too, man. See you.
All right. Matt Hasselbeck, Seahawks legend, and just the best guest we get. Such a treat to hear from Matt. And we get more Hasselbeck later tonight, 5:00 Pacific time. Annabelle Hasselbeck will be hosting the Seahawks Collective with myself, Michael Sean Dugar, and Rob Staten. So good stuff coming up there. And just as a relative note, because it's a Monday night game, the Seahawks have shifted all of their schedule a day later. So there will not be a Wednesday practice report. We won't get a practice report until Thursday. It'll go Thursday, Friday, Saturday will be, quote, Friday when we get the final report. And so I am also, because there's also the Mariners playoff games happening Wednesday night and Thursday night, we are going to shift Real Hawk Talk to Thursday at 4:30 p.m. So we're going to have Real Hawk Talk Thursday ahead of the Mariners game. So keep an eye out for all that. But just letting you know, we're going to have a little bit of a different schedule. We are going to have an early show tomorrow morning. Going to have First Look for you, and I'm going to have DJ Bienemy, who was the ESPN Texans beat writer that we had on for the preview show that we did. Really, really smart dude. Looking forward to talking to him. So 7 a.m. tomorrow, we will talk to him about this Texans Seahawks matchup. I'm going to be working on my tail of the tape today, getting into a little bit of Texans stuff. I'm going to watch some Texans stuff. I haven't watched the Texans since their Jags game, and they certainly have had 2 very big wins in their last 2 games. Now, their opponents are a little bit questionable, but in any event, they've been playing what seems to be better football. So I'll get a little bit closer into that. There's a bunch of seats still available. We want to make sure we get as many Seahawks fans in those seats as possible. And if you want to go see a Mariners game, I want to make sure you get a chance to get those seats as well. So check out this deal from SeatGeek. We're headed towards fall, so I'd love to find some indoor events to attend with my family, which is why I want to give the sponsor of today's video, SeatGeek, a huge shout out. With over 35 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. There are more than 70,000 events listed on SeatGeek, including concerts, sports, festivals, and a bunch more. The NFL is officially back, MLB playoffs are around the corner, and the NBA not too far behind. SeatGeek has your back. Each ticket is rated on a scale from 1 to 10, so you know you're getting a good deal. Look for the green dots. Those are the best. Red, not quite as good. Plus, every ticket is backed by their buyer guarantee. And you know what? It doesn't really matter if you are a Dua Lipa fan or a Benson Boone guy or Who knows? Maybe you're a Tate McRae person, but there are great concerts coming your way. Find them on SeatGeek. And I have a code for you guys. You can use code HawkBlogger10 for 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off any tickets with promo code HawkBlogger10. Make sure you click on the link in the description to download the app and have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. Thanks, SeatGeek. Awesome deal. Click the link. It'll download the app, add the code right to your account, and you can get $20 off. It's a no-brainer. So take advantage of that. HawkBlogger10 is your code. And then best Seattle sports gear out there, SimplySeattle.com. And if you go to SimplySeattle.com and you use code HawkBlogger15, they're going to give you 15% off. So now is the time to load up on all your Mariners gear. Get your new favorite Mariners thing, your new favorite Seahawks jacket, hat, sweatshirt, whatever it is. We're heading to fall. You might as well get some sweatshirts. Make a new superstition, find your new lucky shirt, your new lucky hat, whatever it is. Go to SimplySeattle.com. Use code HawkBlogger15. Also go to JKBoots.com/HawkBlogger. Get the best deal on the best boots you're going to buy. Washington built company in Spokane, family owned, really, really great boots. Great deal. JKBoots.com/HawkBlogger. And last but not least, make sure you grab the Sleeper app right now. Got a very cool deal going on. You don't even have to make a deposit. You get free $20 just for using the app and making a pick. So, get all your real-time stats, all your visualizations, all your fantasy football. You can start getting your NBA stuff, baseball, all that stuff there. And if you use promo code HAWKS, you'll get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. So here's where I'm at. One, I am just super excited about the Mariners, which, by the way, this is a Simply Seattle hoodie. Love this hoodie. And you can get that. Use code HawkBlogger15, get a little bit off. I am floored by the Mariners situation that they won 2 games in Toronto. I'm not going to turn this into a Mariners pod because I know a lot of folks here are just here for football. I'm going to try to do some Mariners stuff separately and try to compartmentalize that a little bit for all of you. But that's certainly on my mind. I know it's on the mind of everybody here. And seeing clips of people out at Victory Hall and bars around the area just celebrating the games together, it reminded me of the times when the Seahawks would be in the playoffs and, you could go to a bar anywhere for a road game and just have it packed with Seahawks fans who were so invested in what was going on and celebrating together. And so I encourage you, if you've been doing probably what I've been doing, which is watching a lot of these games at home, dealing with, your family responsibilities and other things, consider making plans to go out. Even if you can't go to a game the next couple of days when they're in town, go watch it out. Watch it with other humans, watch it with other Seattle residents and feel the energy, feel the fun, whether they win or lose. It's obviously way more fun when they win, but just feeling that is part of what makes sports intoxicating. And it's not just the alcohol, the sports itself can be that way. So highly encourage folks, get out, experience that, enjoy it. I'm working with, speaking of getting out and experiencing it, I'm working with a bar in Nashville for when the Seahawks travel to Nashville in not that long. It's like a month away. Pretty much the whole Real Hawk Talk crew is going to be there. Evan, Jeff, I don't know if Nathan's coming or not. Dana will be there. I'm pretty sure Josh Cashman's going to be there. I think Derek I can't remember. There's a whole bunch of people coming. We're going to try to have a live show on Saturday before that Titans game, and going to probably have it be a ticketed event. We're going to try to figure out how that all works. So I'll have more details on that for all of you. But if you are planning to go to Nashville for that game, we might have some fun stuff in store for you. So keep an eye out for that. And then just a couple thoughts on last night and some things that I think are just honestly just a little bit bizarre. Like, you heard Matt talk about the Bills, and the reality is I've just kind of put the Bills in that category of, okay, it doesn't really matter. They've got Josh Allen. They're going to just win most of their games. And last night, it became pretty clear that that's just not true. Now, it doesn't mean that they won't win a bunch of their games, but that was, if I'm a Bills fan, that was a pretty concerning game overall. But then you get to another thing that I think is maybe the most confusing to me, at least, situation in football right now, which is, if I asked you, what is the NFL team with the number one DVOA defense? Number one DVOA defense. Who would you guess it would be? I mean, if you had said it was, I don't know, the Rams or the Seahawks or the Broncos, or like, there's a bunch of these teams I would have thought to guess. It's the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons have the number one ranked DVOA defense in the NFL. And I've been watching this for a few weeks now. And last night, to me, was a big test. I wanted to see, all right, so yeah, they played Carolina. They played a Minnesota team with JJ McCarthy. That was really bad. Maybe like they played Marcus Mariota, for the Commanders. Maybe this is a little overstated. Well, last night against the Bills, they hold Buffalo to 14 points. That was the lowest output for the Bills all year. They had scored 20 points the week before and losing to the Patriots. Every other game the Bills have played, they scored more than 30 points. So that's notable. And if you look overall at how that game went, Josh Allen was 15 of 26 for 180 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, was sacked 4 times. He had a QBR of 18.7. QBR is out of 100. And that is, I mean, I'm actually going to look this up right now in game logs for him. I'm trying to see the last time he had a QBR of 18.7 or lower. It wasn't last year. It was not well, he came close against New England in 2023. He had a 21.8 QBR, but it still wasn't 18.7. I mean, I'm going back now. There's a 19.4 again with New England in 2021. Still not 18.7. Is that Josh Allen's lowest QBR of his career? No. Okay. I found some. All the way back to 2019, he had a 2.5, a 16.7, and a 13.6 in a year where he was a very, very, very different quarterback than he is right now. So, I mean, that was impressive. And the fact of the matter is, the Falcons game is one that I've kind of thought all along for the Seahawks was an unpredictable game. It's obviously going to be in Atlanta. I'm pretty fond of that Falcons offense. I think Bijan Robinson is in the conversation for the best football player in the NFL. Not the best running back, the best football player. I think he makes football look easier than anybody else playing the game right now. Now, JSN's also honestly in that conversation as much as he is being productive in the way he's playing. But I mean, Bijan, the game just seems easy and slow. And he ends up with 170 yards on the ground and another 70 yards through the air. And he is a handful. Tyler Algier, who is a wrecking ball as a running back. I loved his run last night where he knew he was going to get into the end zone. He still sought out a Bills defender to make sure he ran into him as he went over the goal line. I saw a tweet that was a little close to home, said Tyler Algier is who the Seahawks think Zach Charbonnet is. I think that's accurate. And unfortunately, I don't know that Charbonnet has been as physical of a runner and a tackle breaker as Algier. I think it's pretty clear he has not been that. And then you've got Drake London, who goes for 10 catches, 158 yards. And you've got Michael Penix Jr., who has had an up and down year, but one thing he's pretty good at is getting rid of the football and not getting sacked. So he's not an easy guy to pressure. And I think they've got a decent amount of offensive weaponry. And then you've got this defense that somehow is working. It's working for them. So I think that that's going to be an interesting game, not just for the Seahawks, but guess who the Falcons play next? Falcons go into San Francisco for Sunday Night Football, and that's going to be an interesting one. We're going to see if that Falcons team can travel and if they can beat what is now just a very, very beat up 49ers team. Find out if the 49ers get anybody back while they're losing all these guys. Maybe they'll start getting some guys back. Maybe George Kittle will finally be back. I don't know. But that's a big one for the Falcons and for the Seahawks as well. They don't play the Rams until late in the year. Second to last game of the season. That's going to be at LA and is also a evening game. I think that might be a Monday Night Football game, but I'm not positive. I think it is. Yes, it looks like a Monday Night Football game. So the Falcons are going to have a bigger role in the Seahawks season than I think most people would have guessed when the year started. Seahawks do not play them until December 7th. So there's a little ways to go. A lot of things can change between now and then. But they've got my attention, at least on the defensive side, because if they're a good defensive team, then that game looks very, very different than it does right now. So the other piece that I wanted to kind of share as we went through some of the PFF stuff yesterday, and just, I see it even in chat now. It's kind of relentless, is that, man, the Seahawks need to trade for a center and they need to get a new right guard. And I find this really, I find it understandable. I find it a little bit misguided. If you were to look at the teams right now in offensive line, not tight ends, not running backs, just offensive line, pass blocking efficiency. The Seahawks last year in that number were 31st, tied for dead last in the NFL. If you go back to 2023, the Seahawks were 27th in that metric. You go back to 2022, Seahawks were 23rd in that metric. You go back to 2021, they were 26th. I could keep going, but you get the idea. If you look at where they are this year in that metric, they're 11th. 11th. What are we doing here, folks? Like, this is a team that is they're in the top 10 in pressure rate allowed. Top 10 in pressure rate allowed. And I don't know if Ben Baldwin, I'm going to go check right now, if he's released his latest composite scores here. But if you look at, let's look at it. pass blocking efficiency. Okay. Pass protection by 2 independent sources. The Seahawks are kind of middle of the road when it comes to that. Let's see if the win rates have come out for ESPN. Those, I find them wild sometimes, how off they seem to be. But let's see. Let's take a look at win rates for this week and see. They probably have not released yet. Oh, they have. Okay, we've got our win rates. So I'll go through all the win rates in a second, but the Seahawks, they rank 15th in pass block win rate, and they rank 11th in run block win rate. Okay? So this is not a catastrophe. This is not a 4-alarm fire that needs to be addressed. And even if you are the biggest Anthony Bradford hater, and by the way, most of those people exist in my chat with Josh Cashman, leading the charge, Derek, a bunch of other people, right? I begged Josh, can you just watch the entire Tampa Bay game where Anthony Bradford got a 0.0 pass block grade? You have been relentless in how bad you think he is. Can you just tell me if you think he was awful in that game? And I am so grateful. Josh Cashman actually did it. He watched every snap and he's like, yeah, he wasn't good, but he was fine. He had a couple plays where he got blown up, but he was not a real problem in their ability to operate their offense. I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what Josh said. That's what I see when I watch these things. So if you are so negative on the Seahawks offensive line, I really encourage you to watch, go sit there, watch each snap on replay, on the All 22, NFL Plus, or whatever you use for that stuff. You owe it to yourself before you get so over your skis about how terrible this is. Watch it. Look with your own eyes and see, is this guy keeping the Seahawks from operating what is one of the most productive offenses in the entire NFL? I mean, I think I saw this correctly. When you look at yards per play, Seahawks are number 1 in the NFL. Number 1 in yards per play. You don't do that with an offensive line that is so terrible that you need to make massive changes. And oh, by the way, you know how Anthony Bradford got that 0.0 pass block grade against Tampa Bay? Guess how Dominic Pooney did? The 49ers right guard. The very next week, he had a 23 pass block grade. Vita Vea is pretty good. And maybe that Tampa Bay line is better than people give it credit for. So I don't know. I'm not saying that everything is peachy, but that is not it to me. If they make a trade for a right guard, I'm all for it. Great. Give me Wyatt Teller, whatever. But if they don't, I don't think that this is a disaster. I don't think it is a situation where, John Schneider and Mike Macdonald aren't doing their job if they don't go out and get a new right guard or a new center or whatever. If they can upgrade at any position, do it. But I just think there are other more pressing areas to look at. By the way, while we're here looking at win rates, so I haven't had a chance. I'm looking at this fresh. Might as well go through and look at it for all Seahawks stuff, not just offensive line. So we get to edge rusher, pass rush win rates. Guess who's up to 5? 5th in the NFL among all edge rushers in pass rush win rate. Boye Mafe, the new kind of most, I don't know, hated is the wrong word, but derisively talked about Seahawks player, Boye Mafe. He's kind of the new Tariq Woolen, where people are just taking shots at, myself included sometimes. He's 5th highest in the NFL in pass rush win rate. He is behind Josh Sweat, Daniil Hunter, Nick Bonito, Will Anderson Jr., Nick Herbig. Of note, 2 of the top 5 edge rushers in pass rush win rate will be playing the Seahawks on Monday night in Houston. Will Anderson's number 2, Daniil Hunter's number 4. So Boye Mafe is tied with Josh Sweat. He's not behind him. He's tied with Josh Sweat. He's ahead of Myles Garrett. He's ahead of Micah Parsons. He's ahead of Jonathan Greenard. He's ahead of Trey Hendrickson, Max Crosby. Like, he's ahead of a lot of dudes, even though he's got 0 sacks. So that's interesting. When we go to defensive tackle pass rush win rates, Byron Murphy is checking in at 14th. He has a 12% win rate. He's above Christian Barmore. Jaron Reed checks in at 17th in pass rush win rate. And then we get to, oh, by the way, Houston has Sheldon Rankins above Byron Murphy. So they have their interior pass rusher and their edge rushers being pretty productive in that regard, at least. When you get to offensive tackles, good news. Charles Cross has finally checked into the top 20. He is 18th in pass block win rate. The first time I think this season I've seen him up there. Interior offensive line pass block win rate, shutout. No Seahawks in the top 20. When you get to edge run stop win rate, you don't get any Seahawk. Now, DeMarcus Lawrence has been on that. He is not on it right now. When you get to defensive tackle run stop win rates, Leonard Williams is 6th on that, behind Quinnen Williams, but ahead of Deron Payne. And then you get to offensive tackle run block win rate, no Seahawk in the top 10. Interior offensive lineman run block win rate, Gray Zabel remains number 1 in the NFL interior offensive line run block win rate. So overall, the Seahawks are 8th in pass rush win rate, 5th in run stop win rate, 15th in pass block win rate, and 11th in run block win rate. So always interesting to check those things out. We will see how that goes. And I think there's always ways that you can say, if you isolated the Seahawks offensive line and you had them do certain things, they'd struggle. Guess what? The Jacksonville Jaguars came in as like one of the best pass protecting offensive lines in the NFL last week. They were blown off the ball. It can happen. Good offensive coordinators understand what their team's strengths are, and what that you have an all-pro at every position that can do unbelievable things. That's great if you got it. What matters is if you have what you need to win and to be productive. And right now, Klint Kubiak so far has been able to take this group and be able to be productive pretty much every single week. So until you start seeing situations where the Seahawks offense just can't operate, I just don't have that same concern level. Now, Houston is a team that could be one of those defenses that makes you feel like, whoa, we just don't have it. And they've done that to a lot of people because, as I just talked about, they've got legit elite edge rush. I think a very good defense overall. They've got a shutdown corner. Let's see. But I'm telling you all, if the Seahawks manage to put up 20 plus points against the Texans, I think these arguments are really pointless. I really do. If the Seahawks get shut out, they score 3 points, they give up 7 sacks, they can't pass or run, they can't function, then that does become okay, is that something that a lot of teams are going to be able to do? Was that specific team that has the specific personnel to exploit the weaknesses? How many other teams have that? But the Seahawks are going to face a lot of good defenses the rest of the way. They just faced one, and they beat them up pretty well. So I would just say I think things are on track there. All right, everybody, that'll do it for this episode of Hawk Blogger Mornings. If you haven't already given the show a like, click subscribe. Please do give us a review over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get our audio pods. Patreon.com/HawkBlogger gets you ad-free audio of this show, as well as access to the Discord server and the Mariners Talk channel, where we're talking Mariners all the time, Seahawks all the time, everything over there. and a bunch of other great stuff. So make sure you head over there. Until next time, I'm Brian Nemhauser. This has been your latest Hawk Blogger Mornings. Take care.